what the real problem in professional sports is today. It's been addressed, but because of the money, you hear it about 3 or 4 days and then it's gone. I always use the example, and look, I'm not the smartest guy on the block, but I will wager anybody, the best dinner in town, that you're in your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, and in their children's lifetime, you will never see in baseball 73 home runs hit again by a single individual if they would maintain the strict adherence to no drugs, proper testing, as they do in the United States Olympics. Now, since this flare-up of steroids has come about, you don't see anybody approaching 70, 73 home runs. And I'm not being critical of those who hit those home runs. The book, we didn't get into blaming individuals, naming names. That's what we call an ephemeral thing. You hear it, it's gone. What we're trying to do, have tried to do in this book, is explain based on our many years of experience. We have no axe to grind. I'll speak for myself because Roz comes from a different background than mine, more affluent. Her mother was a concert pianist. She'd been all over the world and traveled with maids, etc. I used to tell people, and she kids me about it all the time. I said, look, I didn't know, I was a vegetarian. I said, I didn't know what meat was till I was 6 years old. And she says, there he goes, exaggerating. But that's true. I did not know what meat was till I was 6 years old, because I was born poor. But as I said earlier, I didn't know I was poor. I lived in an ethnic type of neighborhood. Jews, blacks, you name it. But everybody's door was open. And the kids, as kids, I still remember, I would run into, the house where my friend's parents were black, and because I loved, his mother made cornbread, and I loved to eat her cornbread. Then I'd go over to the Jewish house and eat, matzo ball soup, stuff like that. So I never knew I was poor. But getting back to our book, we have been very fortunate. Not only did we do extremely well, because sports is a different world when it comes to money. Not only the players, but the people who are lucky enough to have climbed part of the ladder to whatever job you held. But, we met people like Mickey Mantle, that he's in the book. We devote one chapter to Mickey Mantle. And as I said to you earlier, Mickey Mantle, the New York Yankees, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig, and then there's Mantle. Those are the top 4 players in the history of the New York Yankees, which, as you know, have won more pennants than any other team in Major League Baseball. But it's more than baseball. We don't want to hop on, at least I don't want to hop on, the reason why I think what's happened to professional sports, because of the money, the infusion of drugs, that has absolutely never been properly addressed. In one of the interviews, when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, I did an hour television interview, and the gentleman who interviewed me said to me, well, you're critical, but what's the answer? You have a solution. I said, look, we're not wise enough to have the solution, but we have a solution. I maintain, and this is not a put down on any of the people that are commissioners or managers or owners of baseball teams, because I said earlier, we're all culpable. But I said that my solution, I don't know whether Roz agrees with me, you've got to have an individual that's totally impartial. Doesn't owe anything to the baseball commission owners, or the racetrack owners, or the hockey owners, or the golf tours. One person who's got to be totally independent and impartial. They had $20 million a year. One commissioner is making $14 million a year in baseball. I think that's outrageous, but that's what the going rate is, that's what they pay. I said, in my opinion, I would, if I were my choice, I would name, which absolutely stunned my interviewer, I would name Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State, who's a sports enthusiast, who knows the sports business as well as any person I've never met her personally, but she's knowledgeable, she's interested in it, and if they made her the chief domo, and then she selected sub-domos, underneath her as managers to control baseball, football, racing, or whatever the sport is, at least you would have an independent, neutral person calling the shots.
Well, then you better up the ante from $20,000 a year to $200,000 a year before she'll even talk to you.
No, did I say 20,000? I meant 20 million. I'm sorry. I'm glad you corrected me, Roz. But you see, the thing is, in looking back, we all look back. Because, we live our lives and you say, well, I wish I could have done this or did. It's like, Roz and I have discussed this many times, because Robert Frost, who is, we devote a chapter in the book to him. One of his, I've been a devotee of Robert Frost since I was a kid in college. As I say, I don't have brains, the brains or the mental agility that Roz has. Roz is much more knowing and perceptive when it comes to people than I am. I'm kind of easygoing, and she's much more business oriented. Whether it's because of our backgrounds, or the parents we were born to, I don't know. But I've always conceded, which always irritated the presidents of the racetracks or the franchises that I sat with at meetings, when I would say, well, we have a very talented person in Roz Mello, who, by the way, is a woman. And as I say, you really cannot believe the bias and bigotry against women in sports. It's terrible. And I selected, when I hired Roz, as I say, I wasn't the person that chose her, but I had the final, decision of where to put her.